Hi, welcome to Caribou Country Lifestyle. My name is Cheryl. Today I'm going to finally be starting my own sourdough starter. We have been buying sourdough bread from the local farmers market. When we started this eating program, we weren't going to be eating a lot of different grain breads. Jamie said, there's no way that I'm going to be able to give up bread. So then I decided, okay, I will get sourdough bread because we can eat white sourdough bread, just not whole wheat sourdough bread. And I want to get it from the farmer's market because then I know it's been fermented properly the way that sourdough should be. And then eventually I figured I would start doing my own sourdough. And now that we're coming into winter, we aren't going away as much. We were gone so much this year between camping and doing different family functions, and Jamie with his shooting competitions. We were going all over in different places in BC that we were hardly ever home. It seemed like we were gone every second weekend. And when he asked when I was going to start doing my sourdough, I said, well, I need to be home long enough because you literally have to be feeding it daily. So I'm finally going to get around to doing my own sourdough starter, and basically I only needed 3 ingredients to start my own sourdough. I have some rye flour, some warm water, and I have some honey. This recipe has come from a local farmer's market. I've seen her at the farmer's market here in town. I've also we were at the medieval market here in town as well, and she had her booth there. We actually picked up some sourdough rhubarb and dark chocolate scones. So I haven't tried it. Jamie ate his and he said it was really good. So I'm just going to start with bread. I'm not going to start venturing out into other things. We also have picked up sourdough crackers from the farmer's market too, and he absolutely loves these. So you can do crackers with the discard. I know that. I have made a gluten-free sourdough, but it was fine making the waffles and the pancakes, but I found the bread was I struggled with making the bread, so I gave up trying to do a gluten-free because my son is gluten-free. But it's a sensitivity to gluten and dairy. It's not like he will get super sick. It also helps with, because he has autism, and it helps manage behaviors. Like, this is the whole reason he is on this diet, is to help manage behaviors. For us, we are just getting inflammation out of our bodies, and it has helped with that too. So I'm going to get started with this sourdough. I have a clean jar. I have my scale. That's very important to use a scale when you're working with making sourdough, whether you're using it to finally make your bread, but you need a digital scale. You have to rely on that for the measurements. It's not about measuring it out into cups and teaspoons. It's all about measuring it out into grams. And then I'm going to start with my flour. This is a whole grain rye flour, and I need 140 grams of rye flour. So I'm just going to start shaking it out. Then I need 170 grams of warm water. 6 grams of honey. This honey is a local honey. I got it from a friend. They have the honeybees right in town. It's actually, they're in the city limits downtown. And this is where I've gotten this honey from. I can't get it any more local than that. So I need 6 grams. I just need to mix this really good. We also picked up, when we bought the rhubarb and dark chocolate scones, we picked up a loaf of squash and rosemary sourdough bread. Just want to make sure this is mixed in the bottom. I can see that it's not. And this gal that I'm following the recipe from, that we actually seen at the medieval market, she wrote an article in one of the magazines that we have here in this area, and it's called Local Dirt Magazine. Well, she is the Birch Bark Bakery, and she is the one that wrote this article. So it's kind of funny that we seen her today, and I've been wanting to start this sourdough, and so I'm just following her article. She gave a recipe on how to start a sourdough. I wasn't sure what size of jar to use, so I decided to use this quart because I'm going to be feeding it every day, but there are going to be days that I will be able to take the discard from it. In her recipe, she said she doesn't use like a plastic lid. All she does is she just puts some plastic wrap over it. So I cut a piece of plastic wrap already, and then she just puts that over the jar, puts it off into a corner, and then I wait 24 hours and I will feed it again tomorrow at around the same time. So here's hoping that that works. It seems pretty simple. Hi, welcome back. We are on day 2 of my sourdough starter that I am just started yesterday. But before we go on to day 2, I'm also going to be getting some sauerkraut ready. This sauerkraut I'm doing with red cabbage. The last one that I did was with a green cabbage, and it was called a sweet garlic sauerkraut. This one here is called red cabbage sauerkraut. But the interesting thing that I was reading in this book is that it says red cabbage has about 30 milligrams of vitamin C per cup. But guess what happens to the cabbage when you ferment it? Cornell University found that fermented red cabbage can have as much as 600 to 700 milligrams per cup. It's incredible that that goes from 30 milligrams of vitamin C per cup up to 600 and 700 milligrams per cup after you've fermented it. That's a pretty powerful reason to use red cabbage in your sauerkraut. So the ingredients in this vitamin C powerhouse is you have red onion, some garlic, caraway seed, red cabbage, and then your salt. So I've already diced up some red onion. So I need 50 grams of that. Again, I am using my scale to do the sauerkraut as well as the sourdough. So I'm just going to zero and I still have it on grams. So I have my red onion is diced. I need 50 grams. I'm just gonna put that in. So I didn't even need as much as I had chopped up. And this will make 1 quart of sauerkraut. The last time I made it, I actually had a quart and not quite a pint. So this time when I'm making it, I decided to bring a bigger jar. This is over a quart. I had these given to me, and it's just a large, it might be like 1.5 quarts. So I decided I'm going to use this instead. That way I can get it all in one jar. So now I am going to zero this again, because now I'm going to be adding my minced garlic. This is the red Russian garlic, and this is from the garden. So far I have my red cabbage is from my garden, the red onion is from my garden, and now I have the red Russian garlic. Got a red going on, a red theme. So I need 20 grams. I had to zero that again. So that was 5 cloves of garlic. Oh, but I've got a lot of garlic here on the side. So I'll probably be over now. I need just 5 mils of caraway seed. So the only thing I have that's store-bought in this recipe is the caraway seed and the salt. So there's the 5 mils. And I purchased one of these wooden cabbage shredders. I got this one on Amazon, and this is the first time that I'm going to be using it. So I'm just going to turn my board this way, and we'll see how this goes. You gotta watch when you get close to the bottom of the cabbage, so you don't slice your fingers. I've had that. I did that with a mandolin. I was using a mandolin and I was slicing potatoes, and that even had a little guide that came with it, and I disregarded using the guide, and yeah, I went and nicked off the tip of my finger. It's so easy to get, caught up in shredding, and then the next thing you know, you're slicing the tip of your finger off. That seems really nicely sliced to the thickness that you would want for your sauerkraut. I'm just going to see how much this gave me. I need 1 kg of, and then I'll just add what I have here. So we're at 600. So we'll pretty much be using 3/4 of a head of cabbage. Good thing I have lots. I ended up getting 5 heads of red cabbage. I gave one of them away to my sister-in-law just last night, because I never know if I'm going to actually use it. I do like to add red cabbage to salads. A bit here. There's a couple of chunks in here that I need to pull out and cut those up. We're almost there. We're at 900. See where that gets us. We are so close. There, that was perfect. Now I'm going to add the salt, and I need 16 grams of salt. So I'm going to zero that and put in 16 grams of salt. Okay, all the ingredients in here. Now I'm going to mix this with my hands to get that salt mixed in with it. All the vegetables. And then once I get it that salt thoroughly mixed in, then I'm going to leave it for 30 minutes to let that salt draw out the liquid out of the cabbage. It has been well over 30 minutes. I ended up, while I was waiting, made up a batch of almond cacao muffins, and we use almond butter that we get from Costco, cacao powder, coconut flour, there's eggs, and sugar, which we use monk fruit sugar in it, and baking soda, some vanilla, and I think that's it. And then you mix it all up, and I do a double batch, which a double batch makes 12 muffins. And we use that as a dessert. So when the muffins are cooled, we take the muffin out of the paper cup, cut it in half, put strawberries and raspberries that I've added a little bit of sugar to that. And then we use a coconut-based dairy-free vanilla ice cream and put that on top. Oh my gosh, it is so good. Okay, so now that our salt has been kind of mingling around in with our red cabbage and the other vegetables, now I'm going to be strongly massaging this cabbage into and incorporating. Before I was kind of just tossing it, but now I'm really meaning business. I gotta stand on my tippy toes to do this. And I have a puddle of brine going from the moisture that's coming out. Yeah, now I have a puddle of brine in the bottom of my bowl. Now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to start packing it into my jar. So I'm putting my jar over this cutting board, so then if anything drops, it'll drop right onto my cutting board. And then I can just add it into it. Can get it in there without making even less of a mess. And then I'll start packing it down once I get it about half full. And it's best to use a wide mouth jar, because then you can get your hand in it to pack that down. So I'll start packing this down. Liquid is building up into it really good. So now I'm just going to scoop what is left in my bowl, which really is only about a cup or so left. Dump that in. A lot of brine in here. Just going to try and push every little bit of it down. that it will be under the brine, because that is how the fermenting will work the best. You want all your vegetables under the brine. I've reserved a piece of cabbage, just even tear it around. So I'm gonna put this piece of cabbage on top of my vegetables. That right in there. Lay that on top. And this will keep all the little floaties below the liquid level of it. Then I have one of these pickle pebbles, which is just a glass weight. And I'm going to put that on top. Then I have one of these pickle pipes. And what that does is there's a little fine hole in the top of the nipple, and that expels the gas buildup when you're doing your sauerkraut. And then I just get a wide mouth lid, screw that on. They recommend to put this into a bowl because that fermenting action, especially if this jar was a lot fuller, like if I would have used a regular quart jar. When I did my other one, the sweet garlic sauerkraut, I put it in the quart jar, and good thing I did put it in a dish because it was foaming and all out the top and bowl. I can just set that in. And then this is going to ferment anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. So what I do is I get a piece of masking tape and I write on the masking tape the date that I have started this, and I put that on the jar so then I know when my 4 to 6 weeks is up, and I will kind of keep an eye on it. I'll just put it in the corner along with all my other stuff on my counter, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on it. So that is my red cabbage sauerkraut. I was cleaning up my cabbage shredder, and it says not to put it in the dishwasher, and you also don't want it sitting in water for a long period of time. So I just ran it under hot water and used one of my dish brushes to clean it, and now I just have it standing on end. Maybe I'll turn it this way, and that'll give the blades a chance to drip dry. And I just have it standing on a towel and letting it air dry. That was the best way that I could think of to be able to wash that properly. Put the 85 grams. And this has been sitting for 24 hours. We're at 75. Oh, I need 160 grams of the rye flour. So I will zero that again. We're getting close. I didn't zero that off, but 35 grams would make it 195. Oh no! I need 3 more grams. And my thing zeroed out all on its own. I was like, wait a second, what just happened there? 35 grams of warm water. I don't want this to be too warm. So I've heated that up in my kettle, but I don't want it to be too warm. And, oh, actually that's perfect. That is perfect. So I need 35 grams of warm water. There we go. And we're going to mix this up. Hi, welcome back. We're on a course of a few days here. When I first started this sourdough, I wasn't very happy with the way that it turned out. I didn't find that there were any air bubbles to it. And so I ended up starting over. I wasn't very happy with the outcome of it. So I started over, and so I've started this one, and I just want to show you the air bubbles on this one. This looks way better. I am on day 3. I thought I would just wait until I got this figured out. Also, in the meantime, I started another sourdough starter because I was getting nervous about this sourdough starter, and this original sourdough starter is the Birch Bark Bakery, and that was from the place that I went to at the medieval market here in our area. And then after that, I started another sourdough starter, and this sourdough starter is from the Artisan Dough Made Simple. And I found this one worked really well with the Birch Bark Bakery sourdough. This one you actually are, right now I'm feeding twice a day, every 12 hours. I'm doing it at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm doing it at 8 o'clock at night. And right now it is 8 o'clock at night. And so I am doing the second feed for this day. For the Artisan sourdough, I only do this one each day. So I'm doing this at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I do not have to do this one as of yet, but even when I show you this, it's got some nice air bubbles going into that as well. And I fed this one at 8 o'clock this morning. So this one is good until tomorrow morning. So now what we're going to do is I am going to take some of the one from the Birch Bark Bakery, and I need 160 grams of this starter to put. I'm going to put it in a new jar. I'm not keeping the discard. I'm getting rid of it. This was primarily made with rye flour, and we are not using that type of a grain in our diet. The only reason I'm using rye flour is because rye and whole wheat flour are really good flours to be using when you're wanting to get your sourdough started. Over the course of the days, as you're adding to feeding your starter, you are adding a white flour. While I'm wanting to wait until the majority of my starter is a white flour, and then add my white flour and my warm water, and we'll mix it up and go from there. Okay, so we need 160 grams of this starter. I better get my scale turned on. So we'll take out 160 grams of this starter. I've got my kettle heating up as well. So we only need another 20 grams of this starter. So we'll see how much that gets us. This sourdough starter, I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to my compost, because you can put discard into your compost. So that's what I'm going to do with that. Now I'm going to add 70 grams of white flour, which I'll zero that. So that's 50. I just barely turned my kettle on. And I always like to put it into the measuring cup to see how warm this really is. Now that's good. Okay, so I need 90 grams. I will zero that again. There's 91, and we'll stir this in. When I was doing this the first time, and I took the discard out, and I added in the flour, the rye flour and the white flour, and then I added in the water, well, it was so dry that I was like, what did I do wrong? So then, of course, I'm nervous about the whole sourdough thing, and I threw it out. And I started again, and the same thing happened. So when it was so dry, then my husband Jamie says, well, just add some more water. So I started adding a little bit. I added quite a bit of water. And then I put the plastic over top. I just want to make sure this is all stirred in here good. I put the plastic over top after I added more water than what they told me to add. And for whatever reason, it worked. And I was getting the bubbles, and it was activating, so I don't know. I second guess everything that I do, and it has worked. So I'm just like, okay. But so far, this has worked. And who am I to wonder why or how or what I did to make this work, but it's worked. So now I'm starting with a clean jar. I'm going to take my tape, which has the date, off of this one, and I'm going to reapply it onto this jar. And this is, I started this on November 16th, and now today it's the 19th. And I'm going to put it over there. I also want to show you my red cabbage sauerkraut. So it has started fermenting. Do you see the little fizziness on the jar? It's doing its thing, fermenting. There's quite a bit of liquid that's formed on top. And then got my little pickle pipe that releases the air. So it's doing its thing. So that's exciting. And yes, I was quite nervous about this whole sourdough thing, and I'm just overthinking things, and I'm freaking out because it's not turning out. And so hopefully, like, it takes about 2 weeks from what I understand to get the sourdough to the point where you're actually starting to use it to make making bread. Artisan sourdough. This one is actually ready to go in a week. So I'm on day 3, and then tomorrow it has here, so day 4, 5, and 6. I repeat the feeding process outlined on day 3. As the yeast begins to develop, your starter will rise and bubbles will form on the surface and throughout the culture. When the starter falls, it's time to feed it again. And the tip is, place a rubber band or piece of masking tape around the jar to measure the starter's growth as it rises. And then by day 7, it says, by now you should see plenty of bubbles, both large and small. The texture will be spongy and puffy, similar to roasted marshmallows. Take in the aroma. It should smell pleasant and not astringent. If these conditions are met, your starter is now active and ready to use. Another tip, if your starter is not ready at this point, which is quite common, continue the feeding process for 1 or 2 weeks or more. I like the little tips. With the Birch Bark Bakery, there aren't a lot of tips, but she does have an email address and an Instagram that I could go into if I have any questions about the process and what I'm supposed to be doing next. You keep I'm doing 2 feedings a day for day 3, 4, and 5. And then when I go into day 6 to day 10 to 14, then I'm only doing 1 feeding. So it will get better. From what I understand, it will get better. So I am going to finish off this video for now. I think I have it figured out. And when we get to the point where we're getting close to when I can actually start using my discard, right now I'm not saving any of the discard until I'm at a point where I have mostly white flour has been added and I have hardly any of the rye flour in it. Then I will start saving my discard and using that starter. So I just want to thank you for joining me for this video, and I hope you liked the video. If you liked the video, put a like in there, and if you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.